On YouTube, A Crown, the Three Range Bros council member, is the creator of The Author's Crown. These are his stories.
Hello everyone, welcome to The Author's Crown. My name is A Crown. In this channel I will present to you stories written by both myself and occasionally stories written by good friends of mine. So without further ado, let's get this show started. Today's story is the third entry in my DC Predator crossover franchise. So sit back, relax, and enjoy The Hunter's Last Laugh. The echoing of thunder can be heard as flashes of lightning covered the sky. An invisible entity raced through it. It came out of the clouds into the airspace of Gotham City. It passed over the city, headed towards the outskirts, as the infamous Arkham Asylum came into view. The entity slowed as it got closer, and stopped over Gotham Bay. Inside, the pilot pressed buttons on its console, pulling up info from the last two hunters to visit this planet. Surveillance footage appeared showing a large masked man in a prison. The hunter swiped through more surveillance photos and came across a man in a burlap sack. It growled and clenched its fists in anger. It slammed its fist down onto the console before getting up and walking away. It walked out of the cockpit and into the armory. It then reached over and grabbed a combo spear, a plasma caster, a whip, some nets, and some explosive discs. It loaded the nets and explosives into its gauntlets and attached its cannon to its shoulder. Then tucked the spear and whip into its belt before leaving the armory. It walked through the ship and stepped onto a circular marking on the floor. It pressed a button on its gauntlet, which activated the opening, and the hunter dropped into it. Meanwhile, inside Arkham Asylum, the maniac known as the Joker threw a ball against the wall and said, "Bored in Gotham, bored in Arkham. There's nowhere fun anymore." He knocked on the wall and said, "Hey, Captain Kirk!" The only response he got was a loud screeching. Joker looked at the wall with a look of disgust and said, "Well, I never. There's no need for that kind of language. Good day, sir." The Joker then heard another screech and said, "I said good day." He walked over to the other side of his cell and said, "Oh, Eddie." He got no answer and said, "Oh, come on, Eddie. Are you still mad I glued your chess pieces to the board?" No answer again. Joker then said, "Oh, Eduardo, don't be such a sourpuss." "Shut up, Joker. I'm not talking to you," Eddie yelled back. Joker then got up and walked over to the door and called for the guard, saying, "Hey, guard." The guard said, "Lights out, Joker." Joker stomped back to his bed and said, "You're all just a bunch of sticks in the mud." He sat on his bed, pouting. He started singing, "Crazy. I'm crazy for being so lonely." The guard then walked up to the door and said, "Joker, shut it, or I'll come in there and shut it for you." The Joker chuckled and got up and said, "Oh, Danny boy, you'd have to be crazy to come in here." The guard opened the Joker's cell and walked in and said, "Okay, Joker, let's dance. Tango or salsa?" Joker said as Danny approached him. As Danny reached for him, Joker grabbed his hand, pulling him towards him and slamming the guard's face into the bed. Joker howled with laughter as he stomped Danny's head until there was nothing left. After Danny stopped moving, Joker took Danny's clothes and put his inmate clothes on the guard's body before putting the corpse on the bed. He chuckled as he walked out in the guard uniform. He took a walk down the hall, whistling to himself, and then he heard screaming coming from a room down the way. He tried to imitate Danny's voice, saying, "Hey, be quiet down there. It's lights out." Joker walked to the room the scream came from and saw Bane standing there. He used the guard's keys and opened the door. He then said, "Hey, Lucha Lord, what's the matter? Couldn't sleep without a venom protein shake. He got no answer as he approached Bane, who immediately fell to the floor. What the hell? Joker said. An invisible figure passed by Joker, bumping him out of the way. Joker grunted and said, Hey, if anyone's going to be killing here, it's going to be me. I do have to give you your props, though. It's not easy to take out Bane. He held out his hand, but the invisible figure kept walking. So he walked after the figure and said, Hey, I'm talking to you. The figure kept walking, and Joker became highly irritated. How dare he ignore me? Does he not know who I am? Ooh, that makes me so angry. He ran after the figure, but couldn't seem to find it. He then yelled out in anger, and suddenly a look of inspiration came to him. He turned around and headed towards the camera room. He opened the door and saw the guard inside, sleeping. Joker chuckled. Sleeping on the job. Quincy needs to get some proper help around here. I'll be sure to bring that up to him later. For now, I've got a punk with no respect to look for. He pulled out his club and walked over to the guard and yelled, Wake up, Cole! He hit the guard across the side of the face, waking him and knocking him out of the chair. As the guard tried to get up, Joker got over him and started wildly bashing the guard and laughing maniacally until the guard's body went stiff. Whew, that was a good warm-up, Joker said as he sat and looked at the screens. He sees all the inmates sleeping except for Man-Bat and Scarecrow. He looked closer at Scarecrow's cell and saw him struggling with something. I heard of fighting Slate Crane, but that's ridiculous, Joker said. He kept watching and saw Scarecrow get slashed across the throat. Joker then says, Found you disrespectful little brat. Joker reached over and pressed the button for lockdown. An alarm blared and all the doors locked. Joker then pressed the intercom button and said, Well, do I have your attention now, Invisible Man? You see this? This is my madhouse. In the screen, the Joker saw the figure examining the room. Oh, you poor thing. Did I ruin your little in-and-out plan? If you want to leave, you're going to have to come and show me the proper respect. The camera saw as the invisible shape became visible. Joker laughed and said, Oh my, you are a big one. You would give Grundy a run for his money. Joker took the microphone for the intercom as he walked around the room with all the villains' personal effects lined about. He started humming to the mic. He then found his own and changed out of his guard uniform into his signature purple suit. He laughed, grabbing all of his items, and said, Oh, Acid Flower, how I've missed you. And lovely Joy Buzzer, are you shocked to see me so soon? And my toxin toy gun. Daddy's home, don't you worry. He laughed as he returned to the cameras and saw the figure gone. He turned around and saw it standing behind him. For Christ's sake, knock when you enter someone's boudoir. I could have been changing. Don't make me cancel you. The hunter then grabbed him by the vest of his suit and threw him across the room. The hunter walked back across the room to him and prepared to punch. Joker laughed and hit him with the toxin toy gun, which shot a needle filled with Joker's signature toxin. The needle pierced the hunter's body. The hunter recoiled and roared, ripping the needle out of its arm. It stumbled back as the Joker began to realize it worked. The hunter began freaking out as the toxin began to affect it. He walked over and picked up a big gun and said, Oh, this is going to be loads of fun. Joker pulled the trigger and it launched a boxing glove out of it, knocking the hunter through the doorway. Joker continued laughing as he grabbed a bag and loaded all different kinds of villain weapons into it. He saw the hunter trying to get away and then said, Oh, no you don't. I'm not done playing with you. Joker saw the hunter trying to press something on his forearm. Joker set the bag of toys down and yanked at the device, pulling it off of the hunter's arm. He then looked at it for a moment before putting it on his own arm. He pressed a button, and he suddenly turned invisible. Joker then began howling with laughter. The hunter looked back, not able to see the crazed man. It realized this strange substance was affecting it negatively. It reached for the pack on its waist. It pulled the needle out of it and injected it into its neck. It roared in pain and began to shake his head around. After a few minutes, the effects began to recede. It stood up and looked at the forearm where its gauntlet had been. It realized it needed the gauntlet to get out of here and that the crazed man took it. It got back up but stumbled due to the strange substance still affecting it. It shook it off and began looking around for the man. It walked down the hallway scanning for the heat signatures. It went to each cell looking, but without its gauntlet to recognize the man's voice made the hunt all the more difficult for this hunter. As it turned a corner, it heard the voice which said, "Oh, I have to thank you. You've given me a brand new toy, and I plan on using it to have all sorts of fun." The hunter looked around, but it was suddenly struck by an object. It fell to a knee and looked around again, roaring and swinging wildly. It heard the laughter, and then the hunter saw a group approaching. The crazed man's voice then said, "Let's see how tough you really are without your camouflage. Enjoy your visit from Arkham's finest, if you could call them that." The group of guards stopped when they saw the hunter standing there. One of them said, "Stop right there." Another looked to the man on his right and asked, "What the hell is that thing?" The man they spoke to answered, "I don't know, but we're putting it in a cell, and then we're going after the choker." One of them approached the hunter and reached for it. The hunter grabbed the man's arm and snapped it with a loud crunch. The man fell to the ground, screaming, "Oh my God, my arm! It's broken!" The others pointed their weapons at the hunter, and one yelled, "Open fire!" The hunter thanked quickly and picked up the wounded man, using him as a shield. The man screamed with each hit. As the others stopped to reload their weapons, the hunter took advantage and took his spear from his belt, throwing it, pinning two of the men against the wall behind them. The other men then ran towards the hunter, trying to grab it, but the hunter drew his whip and began taking out guards, any of them that came near it. The men screamed and fell one by one to the hunter. After the hunter took the last one out, it began to chuckle. Meanwhile, not too far away, the Joker in the warden's office watched the camera feed near where the hunter was. He looked over at the tied-up warden and said, "This is working even better than I'd hoped for. Q?" The tied-up warden said something muffled. Joker laughed and said, "What's the matter? Catwoman got your tongue?" He laughed hysterically and accidentally pressed something on the gauntlet, causing blades to extend out. As of it happening caused him to laugh uncontrollably. Back inside the Arkham hallways, the hunter stood over the guards as it tried to hold back the laughter caused by the strange toxin. It then entered another room as it heard the Joker laughing over the intercom. The hunter looked around and saw everything frozen, including some bodies. The hunter examined one who began trying to speak. The hunter then mercy killed it with its spear. After his laughter stopped, the Joker back over the intercom, saying, "Oh, so sweet, putting that poor old sap out of his misery. You know, I can't quite figure you out. Are you a cold-blooded killer, or are you some kind of alien gladiator fighting with honor? Blah, 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 blah. All I know is that I am not yet entertained, so we're going to have some more fun." The hunter looked up at the camera and roared. It stormed out of the frozen room and continued on. As it walked down the hallway, some of the inmates began beating on their doors, yelling at the hunter to let them out. It ignored them and continued walking. It soon entered another room and looked around as the Joker's voice came back over the intercom. The mad clown said, "Nope, I'm not in there either. But I do have a special present for you." As he said this, the door opened and some released inmates entered the room. One of them said, "The Joker told us if we kill you, he'll let us go free." He pulled out a blunt object and charged at the hunter, swinging it wildly. The hunter caught it easily and gripped it, breaking it in two. The hunter threw both pieces at another inmate, and it pierced the man's chest. A few inmates charged and swarmed on the hunter, but it broke loose, sending them flying. One of them tried to escape, but the hunter took his whip and slung it, catching the man by his legs. He then pulled him towards it. He took the inmate by his throat and gestured towards the intercom speaker. The man frantically said, I don't know where he is, but he let us out and then ran off. That's all I know. I swears." The hunter threw him into the wall, and the man's body hit it with a loud thud. The hunter began to laugh, but held it in as best as it could. It then looked up towards the camera, pointed at it, then pointed at itself. The Joker watched with glee as he got the hunter's intended message. He stood from his seat and looked at the tied-up warden. He adjusted his tie and says, "Well, it looks like Millie Vanilli here wants an Old West showdown." He grabbed his bag of toys and said, "Well, honey, make sure you tuck the kids in for me. Daddy may be home a little late." He then grabbed a toy from his bag and tossed it by the computer. It began making a whimsical little melody, and after it stopped, it released a green gas, filling the room, and the warden began laughing through the tape over his mouth. The hunter then walked into a large room and saw a massive number of inmates standing around, watching him as he entered the room. Joker's voice rang out, but not over the intercom, and he said, "Welcome, my jet-locked friend. I got bored watching you take on all those pathetic guards and inmates, and decided to join in on the fun on a more personal level. But you still have one more test before we play. You've got to get past all my friends here, and then find me." Then decloaked and stuck his tongue out and left the room, still laughing. The inmates all got ready for a fight as they approached the hunter. The hunter roared as the inmates charged it. They fought wildly, but were no match for this hunter. It easily and viciously fought off each one, snapping bones and breaking their bodies. A few moments later, as the hunter stepped over all the broken corpses, Joker's voice echoed from somewhere in the room. "That was so glorious, so entertaining. Batman could learn a thing or two from you." Around, growling as he tried to find this mad clown. Suddenly, it was struck across the back and he winced. The Joker laughed and fired a gun at the hunter, which hit his leg. Its fluorescent blood dripped down to the ground. The Joker then decloaked and approached the wounded hunter, saying, "You were doing so good, and then when you got to the main event, you just couldn't perform. So sad." He took the hunter's spear and held it to the hunter's neck, saying, "Any last words before I close out the show?" The hunter then let loose its maniacal laughter it had been holding in. It laughed uncontrollably, shocking the Joker. The Joker then said, "Don't you laugh at me." The hunter took advantage of the distraction and grabbed the gauntlet on Joker's arm, trying to pull it off. The Joker struggled with it and said, You stop that right now. This is my toy." The cloaking flashed in and out as the cannon spun around, wildly firing. It blasted the ground and walls, and a pair fell through the damaged floor, crashing into the floor below. The hunter then took hold of Joker as they fell onto the floor. An explosive disc from the gauntlet blasted out, blowing the floor from beneath them. They then fell through this floor into the sub-basement, just beside a sewer canal. Wounded and bleeding, is the first to its feet. Joker looked up and saw the hunter standing over him. He began laughing as the hunter pulled the gauntlets from his wrist. The hunter put it back on his arm and looked down at it, preparing to try and cloak. It heard a strange noise and looked on the underside of it. It saw a pair of chattering teeth. The teeth exploded, destroying the gauntlet and blowing off the predator's hand and forearm. It screamed out in pain. The Joker laughed his heartiest, most maniacal laughter as the hunter roared in pain. Hunter limped away towards the canal, and as it entered, it heard something moving in the water. It looked around, but before it could react, a massive shape burst from the water, lifting the hunter in the air as the figure said, "Born on a Monday." Joker kept laughing as he said, "Mr. Hunter, meet Grundy. Grundy, meet Hunter." The hunter tried to break free, but Grundy slammed him into the wall of the canal repeatedly. After multiple slams, Grundy dropped the hunter's body and began to walk back into the sewer. Nearby, wounded and bleeding on the ground, the Joker began laughing and screaming. "He ran away from me." And that's the story for today. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. If you like what you heard today, stay tuned for some awesome things to check out on the Zio to Hero Network. And thank you for listening to The Author's Crown. On YouTube, A Crown, the Three Range Bros Council member, is the creator of The Author's Crown. These are his stories.
Subscribe to the channel. Do it now.
What the hell, Grayson? I don't want to do this.
Come on, Roy. Don't be a jerk.
Fine. My name is Roy Harper, or you might know me as Arsenal. If you're interested in an original story set in the DC and Marvel universes, you need to go to Tiger Tales and listen to War Against Gotham.
And his other channels?
Shut up, Grayson. I'm getting to it. You may also want to go check out his other channels. There, you happy dick.
You could have at least done it with a little bit more enthusiasm.
No, I did it. Now I'm going home. Insignificant humans. My name is Golda, servant of the great and powerful Empress, Rita Repulsa. She has commanded me to tell you to go listen to the adaptation of Boom Comics' Power Rangers on Nerds Throw Comics. Now, do as she commands, or be destroyed.